So let's move in to the releases. And do you have the list up in front of you by any chance?
I don't. Let me.
All right, I can grab it here. We're going to talk about who we think means something somewhere else and who they should sign. And while you bring the list up, I'm going to go with someone who kind of went right under the radar and really people aren't talking about, and that's Tom Phillips. Tom Phillips, of course, is called everything in WWE. Did a really good podcast with Richard Deitch the other day that I listened to, and very classy. I never knew he was an Eagles fan. I love him more now. Lives in Philadelphia. Went to Penn State. I knew he was from the area. I just, his admission of his love for his Eagles, it's kind of why I like the Bells a little bit too, because I'm an Eagle fan. So he was talking about, and he was very, very polished in how he covered it. They asked him, was it a surprise, when you got pulled off of Raw? And he was like, yeah, it was a surprise. I didn't know, but no burying of the company. Now, I'm someone who has loved Tom Phillips' work going back to NXT. And of course, you were seriously watching NXT back in the day. Mm-hmm. And he's someone that, we both have, I'm pretty sure I speak for you when I say this. We both really liked his work. And I think, and you do like his work, correct?
Yeah, it's funny too, because Morrow's voice is so powerful in my brain with NXT that you forget about Tom a little bit, but Tom did a great job in NXT.
So here he is, and, he's a guy who I think is so good, and I would love... And
he was excellent when he was on SmackDown as well.
Yeah. I mean, Raw is a tough nut to crack because of the lunatic in charge. But, he was a guy that I thought was fantastic. And listening to him on the podcast, it was pretty clear to me that he probably is looking at going into college football. But I'll tell you this, if he wanted to stay in wrestling, and again, I don't think that'll probably be the case. AEW's bloated, unfortunately. But he'd be a guy I would make the move for if I were Tony Khan, maybe to do the Friday TNT show, to have a separate group. Because I think, and again, he's someone who's worked behind the scenes with the other announcers in a managerial capacity too. And I think he's only 32 or 33 years old because he started when he was 23. And I think he was there 9 years, so he's 32, 33, whatever. Tom Phillips is a guy I think has a ton of market value. He seems to want to be moving out of wrestling into football. And, if I'm him, I don't know that unless I couldn't get work anywhere else, obviously, that's always the caveat. I don't think I would want to go to work for anybody else because, no matter how you feel about AEW, it's still the perception is it's a step down, right? Because, you were with WWE, you were on the top of the hill, and now you're taking a step backwards. So I don't know what his plans are, but I think the world of mainstream sports is probably going to get the benefit of Tom Phillips.
And it worked out for Todd Grisham. He basically went to college sports and boxing and some MMA.
And they mentioned him on the podcast.
Yeah.
And Grisham and Coachman.
And Coach and Charlie.
Yeah.
Who's a host on ESPN now. So I think that's probably the route with the most staying power for him.
But he was someone I was very, and it might have been a situation where it was like, okay, it's pretty clear you're not going to move me up again. I'd rather, I don't know if he was released or if he asked for or whatever. Very complimentary of people in the company. But, I think he was a guy they really dropped the ball with because I think he was extremely talented and, they, for whatever reason, just wanted to replace him. They thought Adnan Virk was a better idea.
The Khan guy.
Yeah. They don't all work out.
Nope.
So we can move into the other talents at this point. I'm going to go with the talent I think makes the most sense to AEW, and that's Aleister Black.
Yeah.
I think Aleister Black, as an NXT fan, certainly we knew, much like Andrade last night debuting for AEW, they were both guys in NXT that, you saw if they just could get the crazy old man to understand what they're about, or leave it to somebody else like a Paul Heyman or a Paul Levesque or, anybody other than Vince that could see what these talents were like and what they were all about, that you could make them into something. And Aleister Black is that guy for sure. Excellent wrestler in the ring, but just a cool character, different, a really cool presence. When you see him, you say, that dude's different. And that's what this business needs. To really get ahead, you got to be different than everybody else. And I think he's a guy, if I'm Tony Khan, and with everybody that's out there, the one guy, I would put my reputation on the line with to the boss and say, Tony, hire Aleister Black. We could do a lot with this guy. That would be he's the guy I think should absolutely be the one that's brought in.
With the style AEW incorporates, he's the fit from this group.
Now,
and the biggest impact.
Yeah.
Braun is a star, right? But what is Braun going to do in AEW is the problem.
Right. And who's he going to do it with?
Yeah, like Brian Cage, Lance Archer. I mean,
and there's a place, but it's just
Luchasaurus.
They just don't.
Wardlow.
They don't
Hager.
book that super heavyweight division in a way yet where someone like him makes a lot of sense.
Because a lot of their matches just takes size and shape differences and throws them right out the window just to do the moves.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's important.
Nick Jackson would be like, so I'm going to give you the triple Northern Light suplexes, Braun, and Braun would be like,
what?
You are?
And he'd do it, because he's a pro, he would do it. But
yeah, Mark, I'm going to go talk to Mark Henry. Mark, because Mark discovered Braun. Yeah. Mark, should I do those triple Northern Lights? He's the EVP, dude, just do it.
Yeah, just take the money. You've already worked for one. You've worked for one lunatic. What's the difference?
Do?
Yeah.
Yeah,
you've worked for one nut. What's the difference?
Yeah, when you do the big run around the ring and tackle me, I'm just going to get up and super kick you. Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah. That's what you do here?
That's okay, I guess. That's weird because I'm 5 times your size, but I guess.
And maybe I'll accidentally hit you a little too hard, and you go flying into next week, and you won't be able to do that. But
Brock taught me how to do that when he uppercutted me in the face when I needed him. So I learned this.
And before we go on to the other guys and girls, I think if I am Tony Khan and I'm looking at, and obviously he can't bring in everybody, and nor should he. The people I'd be looking at the most were the talents that Paul Levesque got over in NXT. Because what I said I wanted to do, and at time when my product is the best, what I do is I market to that audience that likes, that likes athletics and blah, 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 blah. So, if that's me, if I'm Tony Khan, that's what I'm looking at right now. I'm looking at, those kinds of talents.
Which is why I'd also look at Murphy, because he's probably not going to be that expensive. Mm-hmm. Murphy is a kick-ass wrestler. Just a straight-up kick-ass wrestler. And if someone's going to get over with an AEW crowd, it's going to be Murphy going out there and basically tearing the house down and having great matches.
And he showed that he has a lot of personality you could tap into. When he was, he did as much as he could with the Ray's daughter, whatever. Aaliyah, what's her name? Aaliyah? I don't even remember.
And it's terrible scripted WWE stuff on 205 Live where it was a little looser. Again, not a great promo, but good. And the more you promo, the better you get at it sometimes. And also even in NXT with the act with Alexa Bliss, Blake and Murphy.
Yeah.
They were good together.
I thought it was great that Alexa Bliss put him over on Twitter too and said, super talented.
She put over Braun too.
Yeah. Well, Braun's a buddy.
Yeah, the other interesting thing about Braun is he has said that once he's done with WWE, he's done.
Yeah.
So he might not even be interested in wrestling anymore.
Yeah, and I could see that.
And he's 37, which isn't old for wrestling, but still, he could say to himself, well, I just spent 7 years with WWE. I was at WrestleMania, and I did all these things.
And he made great money. I believe his last contract, he was, well into the stratosphere of 6 figures, or of 7 figures. Well, not well into, but certainly he made 7 figures.
And while everyone else was kind of tweeting, let's see what comes next, he was like, what a ride, what a chapter.
Yeah.
So that might be the end of Braun. Like, he did an interview recently before he was released talking about how he was all frustrated and fed up, and he went in and had a long conversation with Vince. And after that conversation, he's like, this is the only place I want to be. Now, that changes when you get released sometimes.
True.
But who knows if that's the end of Braun Strowman in pro wrestling.
It might be. And again, even if it's not, I don't see a huge fit in AEW. The fit actually, as weird as it sounds, might be like with someone like New Japan.
Yeah, and would he want to go over and do that?
Yeah, that's a tough nut right there.
Because I do think Braun does like the entertainment aspect of professional wrestling. And again,
Braun the Man is nothing like Braun the monster character. He's actually a bit goofy, which I like. And he's got that little bit of goofiness to him. And I mean that in a good way. I don't mean the guy's a goof. I mean, when you're his size, when you're a dude that looks like Braun Strowman, let's face it, you could be as big a dickhead as you want to be. And he's not that guy.
And you don't really hear that. I mean, he made some ignorant comments at the beginning of the pandemic, like directed towards indie wrestlers, kind of from a place of, oh, well, I just became a WWE superstar and I'm making great money. So get out of here with your GoFundMes and your Patreons and stuff. If you can't make money being a wrestler, don't be a wrestler. It's like that kind of...
That was a bad look.
Yeah, but all other reports are, yeah, Braun's a good guy. Like, you don't hear a lot of people going, fucking Braun Strowman.
Good, the fucking guy's going. I hate him. He's an asshole. Yeah, you don't hear that.
It is people upset that he's gone.
Yeah.
Someone that the entire women's locker room is upset that was let go was Ruby.
Yeah.
The whole locker room had an outpouring of love. Like, she was the glue. And again, she's
overcome so much, too, with the injuries and stuff.
Yep, and there was also someone who was in NXT, and you're like, what a great baby face.
Yep.
Like, she just really killing it in NXT. And you saw why she got plucked to the main roster immediately, because of how great of a babyface she was in NXT. And what did they do with the main roster immediately? Make her a heel.
Mm-hmm.
And not that she's a bad heel, but it's like, where's the consistency of character? She's just hitting her stride as a babyface in NXT.
Well, they did the same thing with Rhea Ripley.
Yep.
Rhea Ripley had gotten to the point where she was a kick-ass. Vince saw her, says, she looks like a road warrior. She's got to be a heel. No. And it's like, God, can you imagine me and Paul Levesque? Oh, my God.
Oh, he's got to go home and punch himself in the face sometimes.
Oh, my God. I mean, seriously. Seriously, he punches himself in the face, says, Vince, 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 over and over again.
Hey, Stephanie, remember how Mick Foley used to do this as a work in the ring? I'm
doing it for real! he would buy a Vince wrestling buddy just to beat the he'll buy a Vince wrestling buddy just to beat the shit out of it. Oh my God, that poor guy. I mean, really, all kidding aside, think about all the great stuff Paul Levesque has done in NXT. Now, whether you like him or not, it doesn't matter. And I know there's still people out there that think he's, the Antichrist or whatever, for whatever stupid reason. But this guy has done a great job of character. I mean, he's done his job. He's created great characters. He's taken talents that were green and made them pros. And, he has prepared them for the main roster so that, it's kind of like, when you buy a grill or something, it's like, it's in 5 pieces. All you have to do is put it together, right? It's like, it's in 5 pieces, you have to put it together, and Vince turns it into 12 pieces and fucks it all up. I feel bad for that dude.
Yeah, I mean, for 2+ years, NXT was easily the best product in the U.S. And not just saying that with a backhand. It was excellent. Like, it was weekly. I want to watch this. I want to see the stories build. I can't wait for TakeOver. And all those people that were part of that wave of NXT went up to the main roster, and they were plucked. For some of them, there were no plans for. Like, we want a new face on Raw the day after WrestleMania. All right, what's the plan for now? I don't know.
What are plans?
You're gonna win for the next 2 weeks, and then Vince is gonna go, I don't see it, and then you're gonna just lose for the next year. That's the plan.
And then you get so pissed you'll ask for your release, and he won't give it to you.
and maybe if you're stubborn like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, at some point Vince will be like, I like those guys. They
have chutzpah.
Yeah.
Chutzpah, I tell you.
Shine on you.
Yeah.
And maybe like Drew, you'll go away for a decade and come back and get pushed, But aside from that, no, you come up from NXT, no one's going to understand what your character is, because you hear that, Vince just doesn't get it. It's like, then why do you call him up?
Yeah. What was the reason for calling up something? I mean, I would call up something I get. But then again, keep in mind, Vince McMahon's the same guy that's like, yeah, when Steve Austin came, and this was what, 25 years ago? So it wasn't like he was, 75, he was 50. And he sees Steve, I didn't see it. I didn't see it. That's why I made him the ringmaster.
Well, also the other thing, whereas like, and this came right from Austin's mouth, it's like, how am I going to push you with that accent? What accent does Steve Austin have?
He sounds a little bit Texan. That's it.
He just sounds like a badass dude.
Yeah.
He's going to whip your ass. Like, I don't immediately go, oh, what the hell? What is that?
It's like, I can't understand this guy. It's like, what's he saying?
And then, you listen to Andrade say, I'm going to be the face of AEW, and you're like, why didn't they let him cut promos?
Yeah, I believe it. He said it, I believe it.
Yeah.
And again, we are often critical of Tony Khan. I'll give Tony Khan all the credit in the world because, again, we just talked about, I think that, Aleister Black's the one he should go after. Andrade, the second he asked for his release and was given, and you probably can thank Charlotte for that because of her standing in the company, making it so they didn't want to play hardball with her fiance. The second he asked for it, I was like, Tony Khan's got to sign this guy because he is, and again, we go back to what we know. We know what Andrade can do from his NXT days, right? Mm-hmm. And, I'll give him all the credit in the world for signing him because I think that is a great sign. And I'll tell you this too, if I'm in the AEW locker room right now, and I know the number was down last week, on a Friday, it'll probably be down again this week, but I would feel opportunity is out there watching WWE just, meander in the thick. Because you take away Roman Reigns and what is compelling? Nothing.
Yeah. I mean, Sammy and KO, but whenever they're mixed up with each other, it's usually good. But yeah, it's the Roman Reigns show, and it's Sammy and KO, and then there's just everything else.
That just all rolls together. And again, not an indictment on the talent. A pure indictment on the booking.
I mean, because WWE's roster is kind of insane.
Yeah. They have tons of talent, and it's just not used properly. Can't blame the you know what? If I was the greatest home run hitter of all time and you had me hit leadoff and make me bunt, it's not my fault. It's what my manager told me to do. Of course, I'd swing
you give
away.
Me the take sign on the first pitch and it's a strike, and the take sign on the second pitch is a strike, and you go, okay, now you can swing away. It's like, well, I'm already in an 0-2 count.
Yeah.
Great.
I'm a great home run hitter and an only okay fielder, so you put me at shortstop. I mean, no, don't do that. Put me in left field where I belong.
So I do think, again, Ruby Riot's release is also a boon for AEW. You want to build up that women's division. And what an opponent for Britt Baker she would be at some point in time.
Just
you bring in Ruby
and
whatever
she shows up, and 3 months at the we're rolling into September. There she is. She shows up and attacks Britt Baker or challenges her even better. Make her the baby face we talked about.
Yep.
I agree. I think of the women that were released, she makes the most sense. Obviously, Lana's married to Miro, so I could see her coming in just because.
And they are a great act together.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see, maybe he loses the title and she comes in and whips him back into shape, or she comes in and helps him keep the title at some point, or, maybe Penelope is getting up in Miro's face and she comes in, something like that. I don't think she's a huge signing, but I think it wouldn't be a bad one either. I think that would be, decent money well spent for somebody that, would bring a lot. I mean, say what you want about Lana. She worked hard to get better. She's kind of in that.
Much respect for her.
I do too. She's in that Bella mode where, you were brought in to do one thing and then, they move the goalposts on you. What are you going to do? Are you going to miss the field goal, or are you going to try to, get better at kicking? And the Bellas did it and so did she. So, I would bring her in for that. Just because she showed a love and commitment to a business she came into as an actress.
Yep. And she caught the bug and she begged them to let her wrestle, and they kind of squashed her on it for a long time. And it's like, and that's the other thing I don't understand. Like, you're in this women's evolution and you have this woman you brought in as an actress to be a second and a manager, and she's like, oh my God, I want to do this. No.
Nah.
It's like, but aren't you in this throes of just, the women's evolution? Why wouldn't you have her go and train and see if you can get
and let a woman evolve? Isn't an evolution about evolving?
Yeah.
Duh. Oh, good Lord.
So, and So basically, despite the fact that the whole company was kind of against her being a wrestler, she's like, I'm going to try my best to do it. And then they'd give her 3 minutes and be like, oh, you're no good. Well, how's she going to get good with like 3 minutes of ring time?
Yeah. All right, so far we have hired Murphy to be a mechanic and maybe more, but just to bring in the mechanic function. We brought in Aleister Black to be a star, and we're going to make him a star. We brought in Ruby Riott to give her the opportunity to be the babyface we thought she should have been given the chance to be in WWE. And we're going to bring in Lana to be with her husband.
Yep.
Okay, so who haven't we dealt with yet?
Santana Garrett is just, with all due respect,
I like her, but
not trashing her, but she's of no real name value, despite the fact that she's talented in the ring. I don't need to bring in Santana Garrett. I have a dozen women under contract that are basically Santana Garrett already. If
I'm bringing in Santana Garrett, it's just it's going to be because AEW's got their full times and part times. I would say, hey, if you want to come in and work some darks and show us what you have, we'd like to have you. But I'm not giving you a big money contract. That's not.
Now, if I'm Impact, I'm like, hey, Santana Garrett, why don't you come on down?
Yeah, she works for Impact.
Yep.
I agree. And again, just to reiterate your point, it's nothing against Santana Garrett.
No.
It's just, at this point, Tony
Khan
Khan
need her.
Yeah. Tony can't hire everybody.
Nope.
And nor should he. He should not be hiring everybody. He should be judicious in how he spends his dollars because, again, down the road you'll probably need some people and, if you give somebody the, make them the Drew McIntyre, go show me what you can do and then, make me hire you. That works too.
Yeah, and, there are people who are taking the stance of Tony shouldn't hire anyone. He should just concentrate on what he has. And I think, though, when you have people the level of Aleister Black, the level of Murphy, because if you look at the bottom half of the AEW roster, no one touches Murphy on the bottom half of that roster.
Oh, no.
No one touches this man in the ring. You want to put more focus on the women's division, so you have someone like Ruby Riott that's out there. I think in that case, it's like, you know what? I don't want to just sign everyone in the world, but they've given me some treasures here.
Yes. And I wouldn't sign Braun Strowman because I don't think – what you would probably take to sign Braun Strowman, if he wanted to even sign, you won't get back.
Yeah, he's not gonna be like, yeah, give me 30% of what I was making for Vince and I'll sign. He's gonna be like, but that's what I'll make.
Yep. And you're not going to be.
The same reason why Tony was never going to sign Brock, because Brock is going to be like, yeah, dude, let me see your pocketbook.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah. You haven't hit 5 million yet, dude.
Yeah.
and you know what? If you're going to spend 5 million and you spend it on Brock, you don't spend it on Braun. With all due respect to Braun Strowman, Brock Lesnar moves the needle. And
that's much because Brock Lesnar still shows up on your TV and you're like, it's Brock Lesnar. Braun Strowman shows up on your TV. It's like, oh, it's that guy, Oh,
it's the stupid guy that Vince McMahon or that Shane McMahon said was stupid. I remember him.
Choo Choo Man.
Choo Choo.
He'll be Ice Train 2 in AEW.
Choo Choo Man. He's going to try to steer Tio Man's gimmick and be Choo Choo Man. You don't mess with Tio Man.
And also, again, if I'm planning out Braun Strowman, I'm just looking at, booking-wise, where he slots in, and I'm like, man, maybe if Mark Henry and Big Show were 10 years younger.
Yeah, we'd have a super heavyweight division.
Yeah, we got something, but, the world's largest announced team, those guys aren't going to wrestle. And if they do, it's just going to be a one-shot. So are we bringing in Braun Strowman to do a one-shot with those guys? No. And I'm still trying to find footing for a lot of my big guys. So I bring in this guy who dwarfs them as a star, and I'm not going to pay Braun all that money and be like, okay, now put over Cage.
Right.
Put over
See, therein lies the bigger problem. Yeah. You bring him in, I'm going to bring him in to, to make my guys. Well, okay, you're still spending a lot of money to do, because he ain't coming in cheap. So,
now,
and once you bring him in, he becomes your guy.
If you can work out something that's a real short-term deal where he kind of comes in as a surprise challenge for Kenny to beat, and that's kind of it, all you're going to do with him, and he gets a one-day payday, or a few dynamites and a pay-per-view, maybe that's something that could be worth it. But again, you look at the AEW pay-per-views.
Does he want to do it, though?
does he want to do it? But also, if you're Tony, you look at the AEW pay-per-views and you're like, we still did a big number on the last pay-per-view. It was down from the bomb pay-per-view, but not considerably down. So if we do put Braun Strowman versus Kenny in the main event, how much higher are we going to go?
Yeah.
There's no return on investment possibly. I think, we're kind of in a real good place with our pay-per-views. And certainly, TNT/TBS is going to be like, oh, why would you only have him on for a few episodes?
And what could happen too? I know he's making 7 figures. So let's just say 6 months goes by, right? And Braun's like, let's say they talk and they couldn't come to terms. But even better, they don't talk because it just is, there's a courtesy phone call and Braun's like, yeah, I'm not interested right now. I just, I left WWE and I'm done. Well, 6 months go by and he's like, I'm getting the itch again. That part-time schedule looks like pretty cool. I'm 38 now and, I don't need as much money because I only work once. You might be able to get him for $500,000 or even less maybe. And then you say to yourself, it might be worth it depending on how you've developed your big men at that point.
Exactly. Because now, you've got Kenny and Hangman and Cody. You've got all these guys in specific places where you're like, I've got a year of Braun Strowman programs that I can do without people going, what the hell is going on here? This is ridiculous. Right? Okay, Cage is in a better place, and the Archer is more established, and now we've got Aleister Black and Murphy here, and they've established themselves, and what the Psycho Giant versus the Psycho Small Guy in Pac, that might be a real good, crazy kind of, how do they pull this off kind of, but I think right now you gotta let the other group. Braun is so big. And he's been so prominent on WWE TV that I do think he sucks oxygen from everyone else, whereas Black and Ruby and Murphy don't.
Yeah, because they never got the chance. That's what I said the other day. He screams WWE. When he comes in, it's like, and do you want to bring in someone that screams WWE? Because you're trying to be everything that's not WWE. Mm-hmm. So I do think that's also, an issue you run into if you bring him in. So I don't think he makes sense now. Down the road, we could talk, but now he doesn't make sense.
And again, it's not a knock on Braun, because I think Braun is super talented. I mean, think about how over this dude was before they sabotaged him. Mm-hmm. Before the No Mercy match with Brock Lesnar for the championship, leading into that match, after the Roman feud, this guy was getting mega reactions. And then they didn't pull the trigger, he hit Brock with his power slam 5 times, Brock hit him with one F5 and beat him.
As usual.
And the crowd walked out that night going, what the hell?
What did I just watch?
And even then, they got him heated up real quick because he started mauling people. But then they were like, oh, he's more over than Roman as a babyface. Let's turn him heel. And it was just never the same from that point on.
No.
They did the Kane thing with him. Now he's a face. Now he's a heel. Now he's a face. Now he's a heel. And he stayed over, but not to that extent. So you get over by good booking and being talented. And Braun showed off incredible athleticism. He had great facial expressions. He was a believable monster. You thought that if he punched Elias in the face, Elias was going to pass out. Right? Braun didn't have to do much to prove that he could kill somebody. And when he smashed the upright base over Elias, there was so many great Braun things, just as a character and as a wrestler, where he wasn't doing dives and all that stuff, but he didn't have to.
He didn't have, and he shouldn't. Like we've talked about many times. Nope. Unless, because something happened this week on NXT UK when Joe Coffey's wrestling Rampage Brown, right? And Joe goes up to the top ropes and does some flying moves. And I'm like, yes, because you would do those against Rampage, because you guys are equal on the ground. So if you have anything in your back pocket that, is something that is above and beyond what you would do normally, that's when you do it. There's going to be no situation probably where Braun needs to do any of that stuff. Because he's huge. He's bigger than everybody. And, even Luchasaurus, he could put his hand on his head and keep him away at a distance. So you're right. He's a big guy. He uses his power, uses his strength, and that's all he should use. Because he shouldn't have to go to doing Topicon Heroes, for God's sakes.
So if I was a billionaire just launching a new company right now, I'd be like, come to me, Braun Strowman. But with what AEW already has in flight, I'd be, oh, man, you're so talented, and I get what you have to offer, but I just don't know if it's worth it for us right now.
Right. So we've just spent Tony Khan's money and given him a lot of ideas. So there you go.
So speaking of Tony Khan and ideas,